Code Enforcement of the City of Palatka. This is June 17th, 2025. By way of introduction, my name is Ron Brown. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Florida. And pursuant to city code and state statute, I've been appointed by the City Commission of the City of Palatka to preside over today's proceedings. This is not a formal court of law. We're not obligated to follow the formal rules of civil procedure or the rules of evidence as you might find in the county courthouse. We are by law, however, required to follow the basic notions of due process and fairness and require that all the evidence submitted be what is called substantial and competent. That is evidence that would allow a reasonable person to reach a reasonable conclusion on the matter at hand. What will happen today is that the city will be making a presentation concerning alleged violations of one or more aspects of the city code, and they'll present evidence and testimony that's violation and whether a fine is appropriate and how much that fine would be. And that fine can vary depending on the severity of the violation and the need to motivate a solution if necessary. One of the requirements of law is that all the testimony, however, must be sworn. I'm going to start by asking the code enforcement officers from the city who will be testifying to please rise and take an oath. I'll ask the respondent to rise as their cases are called. Let me show we have two code enforcement officers here. Mr. Gimmo and Ms. Lowe are both here. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give today to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Let the record show that they have answered in the affirmative. We only have one case today, so their testimony will, those oaths will be good for all testimony, but since we only have one, we'll take care of it at that time. We're going to call the case we have. That will be case number 2025 26507. Is that correct? That can't be right. 2025-26.
That's correct.
All right. It's property at 507 Dunham Street in Palatka. Owner of record looks like it's Kyle Grimes and Brenda Grimes. Are either of them here today? Mr. Grimes, come forward, please.
Yes, sir.
And you are Kyle Grimes, the owner of the property at 507 Dunham.
Yes.
Raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give today speaks the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
All right. By way of introduction, the city, according to my file, is making an allegation that there were two violations. One of City Code Section 94-192, parking, storage, or use of major recreational equipment. Specifically, it looks like a shed. And secondly, a violation of 94-33, requiring a building permit. Is that correct, Ms. Lowe?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Lowe is going to be handling the case for the city. She's going to be going through her initial presentation. There will be some photographs, I presume. Is that correct?
That's
All the evidence that's shown will be seen on the screen. If you have trouble seeing it, let us know. We'll make sure you get some paper copies. All right, Ms. Lowe.
Yes, sir. For the record, Christy Lowe, City of Palatka Code Enforcement. We're here today on case number 2025-026. Just for the record, this is Eric Taylor's case. He is in school this week, so I am taking the case and just transferred to me on Friday. Again, this case is in reference to 507 Dunham Street. It was first observed the violation on March 7th, 2025. The notice for this hearing was mailed out on June 3rd, 25. We did receive the green cards back. Complex posting was June 3rd, 25. Also, site posting was the same, June 3rd, 2025.
All right, let me ask a question on due process while we're at that point.
Yes.
Mr. Grimes, you're here, so
Yes,
you
sir.
know about this.
I do.
And I just want to make sure we have something. Your correct mailing address is 507 Dunham Street, is that correct?
No.
What is the correct address? Okay, that is your correct address. And that's where these,
One that I'll be using.
and that's where the certified mail was sent, Ms. Lowe, is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
All right, and did you get a green card back from
I
them?
did. Yes, sir.
You did?
Yes,
You
sir.
posted the property anyway,
That's correct.
in an abundance of caution?
Yes, sir.
All right. Point being, the state statute requires one level of notification and another if that one doesn't work. One is to send it to the a certified letter to the address of record, and that address is the one in Maine. Did you come back down here from Maine for this?
I've traveled multiple times since,
Okay. Well, I appreciate,
I have no problems, so.
I appreciate you doing that. I just want to make sure we got the correct address for the mailing, and she noticed the property, which is an alternative under state law.
That's
Something
correct,
like
sir.
that. All
And
right,
it was placed in the placket.
so you're here, which is a good thing. Now, you got 2 alleged violations, is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
And 94-192, and then 94-33. All right, you have some photographs you're gonna show
I do,
us?
I do.
Did you take the photographs you're about to show?
First got, Mr. Barnett, took, but I did review the property myself. It's the second set.
All right. And do the photographs you took actually represent the condition of the property date in which you took them?
That's correct, sir.
Do the photographs that were not taken by you, you said you matched up your review of the property with those photographs?
Yes,
And those photographs represent the condition of the property? All right. Please proceed.
yes, sir. This is gonna be photograph 1A on case number 2025-26. It was taken March 18th, 2025. He is showing here that there is a structure, storage unit already on the property with no permit. And that's
So
this.
what's the technical violation here? You can't put the shed without a
That's
permit?
permit, yes,
Is that
sir.
all you need?
That's what he needed for this.
All right.
Right.
Okay, well, like just asking, when you did somebody notify him before the hearing today or before you set the hearing date?
Yes, Mr. Bartley spoke with, Mr. Brown, and also being mentioned, so he spoke to him, so he's holding to his step.
Mr. Grimes, I'll ask you, is that consistent with your understanding and Mr. Bartelli talked to you about this need for a permit?
I addressed the need for the permit, and not only did I pay for the permit, I ended up paying double, because it was after the fact. I made a mistake, we owned it, they told me, I did make a mistake, because the permit is usually $50, I had to pay $100, and I did that.
Well, the question is, I guess, as of today, is there still a violation if he's got a permit?
Correct. I was advised the permit was not approved.
Was not approved?
But I never heard.
Oh, wait, I mean, why was it not approved?
If I may,
Sure. Well, you've been sworn. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah.
Inman.
yeah, an application was filed with the city, with the planning department. He did pay the fees, like he said, was after the fact, there was no permit issued for it. I reviewed the file, and this is the shed. Customarily is an accessory structure, so principal use. There is no principal use in this lot, so they cannot be permitted. And besides that, it requires a permit from the county as well, because it's over 150 square feet shed. And about 150 square feet is required to get a building permit. The building permit itself is not issued by the city, it's issued by the county.
Is there an ordinance regarding requiring the principal residence to have a shed?
Yes, that's what it does.
All right.
Yeah.
So he needs a permit under that circumstance. What does that ordinance say?
What the code, it requires you to have a principal use.
Which
It
would be
cannot
a,
be an accessory. So basically you cannot place a shed or an accessory structure without a principal use in the lot.
do you have to have the house, the principal, you're talking about basically a house or some principal building on the
Exactly.
property?
Or
Is
maybe
this
an
limited-
application for a house. That will suffice for allow this shed to take place.
Is this limited to certain zoning districts or any property? Right, so it doesn't matter what the zoning is or the land use.
Yes, no difference.
All right, so you have to apply for the permit for the principal use. Do you have to have the principal use finished before you can put the shed on the property? Under the county, under the city's code?
Yeah.
All right. So what you're telling me is that under the code as you're seeing it, he's applied for a permit he can't get. And so the city's asking for what as a result of that? Removal of the shed?
Removal of the shed or the proper permits with the county that there's going to be another structure raised. put on this piece.
Well, let me back up. So you're applying to the county for this?
So there's two different permits that he needs. He needs the permit from us and the county.
So what do you,
Maybe
what
I
does he,
can explain.
what does he need from you? And then what does he need from the county? This is important because if you're gonna, if you want a finding, that's fine, but you gotta give him a compliance target.
Yes.
So what has he got to do to bring this into compliance? 2 permits apparently.
Yeah, can I explain?
Sure.
The county, the city has a contract agreement with the counties in 2017. Since that time, the county issues the permit and provide all the services for the building code. In other words, they issue the permit and when it goes to the county for a building permit, they send it to us just for verifying the zoning requirement. That's the way it works now. So
Okay.
when he came to us, I was not, I didn't, I didn't, or didn't see him. He put in an application because it was code enforcement violation for a permit. He put the application, and I don't know whether staff informed me that he needed to get a building permit from the county. That I don't know. We have signs on the counter,
Okay.
shows the process.
So when he,
But I
when he,
was
when you talk with him, do you talk with him about this? Well, who talked with him?
Mr. Bartelli and
All right.
then the.
So do you know, hang on, we'll get your chance. Do you know if Mr. Bartelli told him he would need 2 permits?
So I'm looking through Mr. Bartelli's notes. It just looks like he just put the section 94-33, the building permit for the city.
All right. So here's the thing. All right. Is it going to be enough to bring the property into compliance to apply for these permits? Or does he have to get them?
He would have to get,
How long will that take?
well, when you say he has to apply for the permit for principal use,
I understand.
if it is for a principal use, that would suffice.
Okay.
But if you just go to get a permit for the shed, then we will have to review that. If the
I understand
county
that.
sent to us.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And you've been eager, to talk. Mr. Grimes, go ahead. But what I'm hearing is you've got the shed on the property that requires a principal residence on the property. And what I'm trying to get at is what's a fair assessment of what you need to do to get compliance at this point in time with regard to that? Applying for a permit or getting a permit are 2 different things and can be wildly different in their time and cost in terms of what it is. However, I'm gonna say this, if it's apply for a permit, then you can't just do that and forget about it. It's got to have some progress. Go ahead.
Well, sir, the only reason that shed was on the property was so I could lock tools. And I expressed to Mr. Alex, this is how he addressed me, his name was, but I later found out his name is Lorenzo. He works over in the code enforcement office.
So this is Lorenzo.
This is Lorenzo? Okay,
Yeah.
so I talked with a man, Mr. Alex.
You talked to Harold Bartelli.
He came to the property.
Who is he?
Mr. Bartelli came to the
Okay.
property. So I did briefly talk
Okay.
to him, but Mr. Alex walked me through the process on getting the permit. Assured me there wasn't gonna be any problems, but I was gonna have to pay the, after the fact, $50. I was never told that there was another permit that I
Okay.
needed. It was pre-manufactured and delivered. I'm in the dark. I understand, ignorance is no excuse, but I didn't know all this stuff. It says on the website that they're about educating. I've called multiple times and asked for all the information I need. I'm still frustrated. I have a contractor that's gonna be building my house, and he'll be going through the process after this for the permits. But,
Well, here's the thing. I'm going back to right now, from what I can tell, there's no disagreement of the fact we have a shed on this property. The shed can't be there unless there's a principal residence. The county's code, you're familiar with, I have a little familiar with the county code, and I hate to be testifying, but the county tends to view it as you have to have an application for one in process as opposed to having it obtained.
Right.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
All
The
right,
city
so
will-
that's different than getting it.
No, the city would, like I said, if he goes and applies for a single family home, which he just said that he's gonna do that, then, that application will suffice for us for me to approve. Right.
Okay. So the city wants to impose a fine after a certain period of time if I find a violation. The question is, what's going to trigger the fine and what would delay it? And so if he makes an application within a certain time frame and then proceeds with that in a due manner, would that be satisfactory?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You understand where I'm trying to just work out how this works.
This information, so had I known this, I would have done everything to avoid this. I'm delaying my trip back.
And I appreciate all of that. Here's my situation. The only thing I get to look at is whether there's a violation today or not. And then I'm very concerned about making sure that the property owner has a very clear picture of what it's going to take to bring the property into compliance to solve that violation. That's all I'm asking. And so that's why I'm trying to get from them and you, solving your problem, I hope, that there's a solution that you can understand and see. Now, I'm going to tell you, going through the process at the county to get that principal structure approved isn't just going to be something you're going to be able to do overnight. That's going to be some work and there's going to be some expense involved in it.
And I would expect there would be a grace period for that to go through. And
And that's why-
When I put through, I appreciate you clarifying some of this, because when I put the permit, after the fact, never heard back.
Well, you're here now, and we're trying to give you some information, and you've got some contact people you're going to be able to stay in touch with regarding all of this. Here's the thing. I think there's a violation today. From what I'm hearing from the city, they're willing to say if you make the proper applications for permits within the next 30 days, you can avoid any fines. You can walk out of here today without having to pay anything regarding all of this today. City doesn't have an administrative fee for the joy of coming here as other jurisdictions do. And so that's a wash at this point. But if you don't get it started within 30 days or make good progress on it, you could theoretically find yourself back here with another violation because you haven't made progress on it or moved the shed, one or the other. Understand?
Yes.
So don't delay. That's all I'm saying. The only reason people come to me is that they want a motivation from people. They really don't want your money, but they do want the motivation to get it done. That's all. All right, let's take a look at the second one. This is the one of, is it the same thing related, 94-192? We're still talking about the shed?
So, if you go to 1B,
This photo? So 94-93 is about the shed and needing a permit.
correct.
So now we're 94-192, parking, storage, or use of major recreational equipment.
But it was used for storage and received several complaints that the so Mr. Bartoli went back out and he noticed.
We didn't cite him for living there, did you? You didn't cite them for living there.
It's living in the shed. There's a violation on 94-192. Not living, not living. The properties or the storage or camper trailers or
Okay,
recreational vehicles.
well, what do you have regarding, so what? No, hang on. Here's the way this works. This is about, we're trying to create a record, so I want to make sure nobody talk on top of each other. We're trying to get an organized view of it. And we're looking at people who have personal knowledge testimony.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what this is about. I don't know if you have that.
That's exactly right. It's here.
Well, then we can take a look at that when you get a chance. Here, I'm trying to get the city in right now. So the city's taking a look at 94-192. That says in part, major recreational equipment is defined as including boats, boat trailers, travel trailers. Pick up something, there's a hole in the middle of it, or coaches designed to be mounted on automobile vehicles, motorized dwellings, tent trailers, houseboats, and the like, and cases or boxes used for transporting recreational equipment, whether occupied by such equipment or not. No recreational equipment shall be used for living, sleeping, or housekeeping purposes when parked or stored on a residentially zoned lot, except when permitted in an R4 district or in any other location not approved. So this is an R residentially zoned property.
It's as a residentially zoned property, but The shed isn't attached to the property with that.
Okay, that was the other one. This one's about parking, storage, or use of, this is about particular kind of equipment, I presume outside the shed?
So the way it looks like Mr. Martelli used this is section 94-92 parking, storage or use of major recreational equipment. And Mr. Martelli advised that when he met Mr. Grimes, he said this was a storage shed. And the complaint is that he was residing in the storage shed.
Okay. So it's always, we're still only talking about the shed,
Right, now the
nothing
shed-
else.
Nothing else.
All right. And then the shed needs a permit.
The shed needs a permit.
It's considered major recreational equipment.
It says storage or use, and he advised it was being used for storage. And it's a storage shed.
Just curious, what part of 94-192 meets the definition of a shed? Boats, boat trailers, travel trailers, pickup campers or coaches designed to be motorized dwellings, tent trailers, houseboats, and the like, cases or boxes used for transporting recreational equipment. Is a shed recreational equipment? I know you're inheriting the case and all, but
No, I'm just reviewing it. I'm familiar with this section. We've used it several times. I'm just. The way that Mr. Bartelli explained it to me is that this was being stored, it was used as storage. And then the way it reads, parking, storage, or use of major recreational equipment.
so it looks like he's saying the shed's major recreational equipment.
Yes.
I'm just trying to make sure I
I'm
understand
looking
that
at
that's
it.
what the code provides for.
Yes.
And you agree with that?
I-
All right. Is it, you got some other arrows on 2C?
Yes, sir. He was showing where there was a lawnmower, air conditioned, there's wires running to a generator. That was his evidence. I mean, there's all the same evidence when I took my photos, so it could show that someone's possibly.
But that would assume it's all recreational equipment. Okay. Anything else?
That's basically all the evidence he has.
And this is the photograph of the posting of the property.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Grimes.
I appreciate. So this is Manuel where he rents a room to me directly next door, which is adjacent to the property. I live next door to the property that I own because I didn't want it to problem. I didn't want, but it's next door where I live.
What's that, how's that relevant to this piece? I know, Jim, how's that relevant to this piece of property?
Somebody,
You gotta speak in the
the
minute.
neighbor, or one of the neighbors called and at a spite is weaponizing the code enforcement. And saying, making false allegations, because I don't live there, it's for storage.
Okay,
Yes, because he lived with me.
okay, you sir, come on up.
Yes.
You're right.
It's
And your name
one
is?
Document.
One at a time. Your name, sir?
The name is Matt.
Okay, and where do you live? Can you raise your right hand for me? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, please proceed. Okay, go ahead.
From the day he put his head on the lot, this man asked me for a gave him that. I didn't know. Everything is fine. I ran to him. From the day he put the storage on the land, he was staying with me at my house. Okay, now he'll go over there and work, cut on AC, because it's hot now. You got to work on the inside. All right, so that's what all I've been seeing him do since he moved that storage on the property. Now he's staying with me too. I'm his landlord.
Okay. Yeah,
I just want to verify he
That's
wasn't staying in the shed.
Okay,
Whose
so,
theory that was.
and you've never seen him live on the shed on the next door
He
property?
lived with me. He never lived in that storage.
Thank you.
And he did sign a document, but you got him.
Does the city have anything in rebuttal to that?
No, we just have the witnesses that called in and made the complaints that what they advised and what they see.
But they're not here
They're
either.
not here, no,
Yeah.
sir, I didn't ask them to come.
So there's things, they actually saw somebody living in it as opposed to somebody going in and out of it, or?
So what we have is that one of the complainants are saying that the little bag that's under the thing is a piece of bone. They run some generator along and that cooks on it. Some of the complaints, they said that they watch you walk out and just breakfast thing.
I don't smoke, I have a heart condition.
What about the generator?
The generator's been used to charge batteries, DeWalt batteries. I have a Jackery power box that I take with me, and if I want to use the generator, I can charge it 5 times as fast as my solar panel that folds out. I don't. So I think I can explain, I don't even want to know who made the complaint, because I have a pretty good idea.
It's a public record, you can find out.
I feel bad for the man.
But again, that's not relevant to whether or not there's a violation. And I appreciate your frustration.
And that bag that's hanging up there, more than welcome to looking at. It's still right there. There's certainly no fees there.
Okay. So you're storing other items around this shed, and there's a generator, and that generator there charges batteries in the shed?
I have a extension cord that at one point I ran into the window so I could lock the doors. And while my batteries were charging, if I need to run the store, my stuff's not gonna get
What
stolen.
batteries are in there?
I have a Jackery battery, and then I have some power tool batteries. In order for me to charge them for different things that I would be doing, projects, helping Mr. Ware on his house. I have to charge that up at times, and I'm very cautious about not having my stuff stolen, so I have to lock the door. And that is the reason why there was a cord in the window, so I could lock the door while those batteries were charging.
Do you understand how somebody might assume somebody might be living there at least part of the time? Do you understand how somebody might assume that running that generator all night might go with?
No, not all this.
Never.
Was that a part of the allegation?
Never.
That was the allegations that the generator runs through the day and through the evening.
And I don't do that, and I also don't smoke cigarettes.
All right, guys. You're testifying, and your neighbor who is allowing you to stay with him testifies. You don't live in there. So you don't ever sleep in there, you never cook in there, you never use it for any other purpose other than storage. Is that correct?
That's it.
That's correct.
You're under oath, because
You don't know.
this is gonna follow you around, and same with the city.
It's saying the
So
same thing.
that's not how this is being used.
No. That. That's just again, that's just more, to what you got right now. You don't get him out. That's all that is.
All right. So you're gonna continue to stay with your neighbor until you get this resolved?
In trying to settle this and get a contractor that's gonna be doing some work. I already expressed this. Got the after the fact permit, that was just the wholesome tool, so I could have some stuff secured from the time that it takes to get. some
Let me
work.
ask you something. How often are you actually down here? Like in weeks or days?
Still here.
Okay, so how long are you down here? What times of the year are you down here?
I would like to be here just a minute.
Well, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, what are the times you are here? When have you been here in the past?
In Florida in general or? Black?
No, right here.
I just bought this property at the beginning of the year.
Okay, and since January, how often have you been here?
Like, how many trips have I made?
Since January 1st, and this is June 17th, of those number of days, how many of those days have you been here?
90,
90?
roughly.
And you stayed with your neighbor?
I had an Airbnb, I stayed with a girlfriend, and
Okay.
I also stayed in the neighborhood.
All right, and you've never stayed here, so you haven't been back to May? Since you, okay, were you running the generator when you were gone?
No,
Okay,
I see how this property was, it's not.
all right, We've got some conflicting evidence on whether he's living in there.
That's correct.
All right. Anything else anybody has about this?
So I don't understand why about the first permit, it looks like, when you pulled up the property appraisers, this property was yours first, right?
That's right.
And it was attached to your house.
That's right.
So when the permit, looks like when the permit was filed and you pull it up from the property appraisers, I was looking at Mr. Martinez's notes. It looked like it still showed you as the owner.
Right,
So then it would have been no issue because you already had a structure.
right.
So it looks like what happened when the pictures were submitted, and then it looks like the deed was signed all within this. So you must have got a letter, because I saw where it came back. So I believe, sir, that's where the confusion came with the permits. At first, when it was pulled up, it looks like it was attached to the house.
Yes,
And in this for the case, it was deeded over to Mr. Grimes. So that's, looks like why it's can no longer be considered, because it's one lot.
now,
that belongs
it's
to-
I had stores on that property. For
Okay.
a long time, with no house.
Okay, guys, here's the deal. This is a record, recorded proceeding.
Okay,
If you want to be heard, you come up here and you stand in that microphone and you can be heard. And then let's see if it's relevant. All I'm asking right now is when he was here and whether he's running the generator. What I've got is a situation where I'm looking at a picture now, which is number 1B. So I'm looking at around the outside of this shed. There are items stored on this property, including a motorcycle, including looks like it's something else on the right side. Is that a violation that the city is looking at?
No, sir. It's-
So that's
what he's
okay.
showing- What Mr. Bartelli was showing when he explained this to me is that he has a ride, a mower, a chair, a cookie pit. Basically, he's showing that he put an address on there like it was a residence. Like you would normally pull up and you would see somebody's vehicle, somebody's lawnmower. He has an address on the shed now where it is now his property. It's his name now.
What about that? The address on the shed, what's that about?
I didn't even want to get a 911 address. I was told I had to
Why?
in order to get the permits approved. It asked for an address. There never was an address there because
507 Dunham doesn't work?
what's that?
Oh, you've got to find an address and that's a
I
number
had
on
to,
it.
Make a request to get that address issued. And in order, so I have an address for filing these paperwork. Because all I was using was a personal number, and they said, oh, you need to. I was told by Mr. Alex that I had to call and see about getting the 911 address. And that's what they issued me, it was 507 Dunn, they told me I had to put those up.
All right. Here's what I'm looking at. However it got there. What I look at is what's on the property today. I don't think anybody disagrees. This shed's on that property today. This shed's on that property without a permit. It's on the property without a permit. Okay, however it got there, it's on the property without a permit. So now the question is, what's the fair precedent? You're going to need to get a permit or you're going to need to move it.
Right.
What I'm hearing from the city is you've got to go through a bifurcated process because you got to deal with both the city and the county. And you just have to, tolerate that, but you got to make some decent progress on doing that.
Yes.
So here's the thing, I'm gonna find there's a violation of the 9433, I guess 94-192, and the fact that the shed is there, it needs a permit. I'm gonna give you 30 days to start this permitting process with both the city and the county. If you don't get it started within the next 30 days, you're gonna get a $250 a day fine. Do not miss the deadline. That deadline is going to be, looks like July 17th.
Am I calling it for $100?
You get $100, well, I don't know what $100 that is. This is about a fine. Right now, there's no fine at all.
And I appreciate.
But come on July 18th, you're gonna need to have an explanation to satisfy them, or you're gonna need to start paying $250 a day. They don't want your money.
Right.
Be aware, this isn't your homestead,
No, it's not.
and it can be, the city can eventually get a lien and foreclose on
They could.
it. They don't want to.
That's why I'm.
Okay.
About making sure we can.
Here's the thing, as to whether somebody's living on the property or not. there's some conflicting information here, and the complainant's not here, and I understand that. The neighbor says you're living with him, you're saying you're not living on it. I have to say, running that generator all the time sounds like it's a problem.
And I don't put it to.
Well, why do you need to run it at all if you're not gonna be here? I mean, what do you,
Well, I don't wanna impose on using too much electricity for somebody. I have the generator and I don't need all the time. Sure, you don't run it at night.
well, okay. What you don't want to be doing is living on this property. Because I'm gonna tell you, the testimony today is you weren't living on it. But if testimony comes back and you were living on it, the city's gonna take a dim view. I might take a dim view of it. If any evidence shows up again, you're living on this property. If that is just, from this day forward, it doesn't need to happen.
Right.
All right, and you need to get the permits done. Come July 17th, at the end of the day, if you hadn't applied for those permits, that shed needs to be gone. But you will get $250 a day. Listen, this is a very simple process. I understand people have needs, why they want to do what they need to do. And I understand why, if you're from Maine, you'd rather not come down here and have to pay for a place to live or a place to stay or some temporary quarters, whatever you need to do. Well-
No way I can go.
Well, here's the thing. The neighbors who saw it aren't going away. And I've been doing this now for 38 years. It frightens me. But I will tell you that once these complaints start, and yes, that can happen, they don't go away. Florida law has made it now illegal by state statute to file one of these things anonymously. Imagine what that was like. But now at least you have an idea of who's filing these things. And so they got to own up to it. So they're not going to go away. They're going to be on the city asking them, what have you done about this? And then they all start talking to the people who normally sit up at the dais, and that would be the city commission wanting to know, what are you doing about this? This isn't going to go away.
I wouldn't expect it to. I
All
just wanna, I don't have to go at all of my neighbors.
So you clear where we are. And you need to get these permits started by 17th, and you need to make progress on them. Because if you're not making progress on them and they lapse, because they're going to lapse at some point on the application, then you're going to find yourself back here. Don't live in this. If you're not living in it now, that's fine. Do not live in this, because if you live in it, on top of what's happening, I have to tell you,
It's dark.
I'm probably not gonna be very sympathetic to the notion that you came in and made the statements you made today, and then you're not
Right.
living in it.
No,
All right?
it's not gonna
Are you clear?
crystal clear.
All right. You know how to get, who's gonna handle, Mr. Bertelli gonna handle this?
When he comes back, he's gonna really give me.
Would you make sure when Harold comes back that he initiates
Yes,
contact with Mr. Grimes and make sure that we
Yes.
get this done straight?
Yes.
In terms of what we're doing?
So for purposes of clarifications, section 94-192, the living in the
Yeah.
recreational equipment, there was no finding of a violation of that section, correct?
It's a close call right now. And I'm gonna let it not go. That's why I'm telling you, you can't be seen doing that.
Mr. Brown, is that okay if I ask for a copy of the lease, just for our file?
Sure. Did you,
I can drop off, I actually have a photocopy that I was mailing out to them when they put the notice at the end of the property, so I can drop them off a copy. No
I
problem.
appreciate that. If you just drop us off a copy, that way I can put it in our phone and that's all.
Absolutely. It's not a problem.
Okay,
and
so
you need to do that within the next week.
Thank you.
So I'll drop the copy, I'll have that done by now.
Well,
This
let me,
afternoon.
please do that, because she's concerned, I'm sitting here looking at the evidence, and I got conflicting evidence on this. It's close, okay? You got a neighbor, I got some complainants who say the opposite.
They're not here, and I have.
I understand how that works in the business. Again, we don't have to follow formal rules of evidence. There's a certain amount of leeway I have in terms of what's going on. But right now, I'm gonna go with the notion you're not living there. That's why, but I'm telling you, it's a close call.
So going in and out, when if that's misconstrued as I'm living there.
Well,
and that's not
again,
right, I mean,
well,
why wouldn't
I'm sure after this that the neighbor's gonna be paying probably very close attention. They may be taking notes and photographs and who knows what. They can,
That's all right, you're welcome to. Anything you want to do for But I had to put the sign, trespassing signs up for a reason. 'Cause-
Well, they can't trespass on your property.
Well, I'm worried about that. Well, already, that's why the signs are up.
Well, again, that's not the issue right now.
Right.
It's a situation, anytime you have unintended property, you have issues. I get that. Is there a fence around your property?
And I didn't even, that's not even specific here.
So just for clarification, section 94-33, the building permit, that will be applied for within 30 days with the county. You're gonna apply for a building permit with the county. And there's a for a house, and that's a coordinated effort with the city for zoning approval and setbacks and so forth. But starting that permit application with the process with the county will trigger that process. And then on the second 94-192, there is not a finding today of a violation of that section.
Ms. West, do you know if I'll be credited towards the $100 that I paid the city for that permit?
There is no fine as of today. The fines would only be initiated after the 30 days with, if there's a fine that you're still in violation for not applying for the
I
building.
don't think I'm to express what I'm trying.
Maybe I can answer your question. If you apply for the building permit for the house with the county, then I would be able to approve your application for the shed.
Right.
An accessory.
Well, wait a minute. Wait, back up.
And you already paid for it, so we're not gonna charge you.
That's all I needed to know.
Back up a minute. Applying to the county is one thing, getting a permit from the county, is something else. So are you telling just because he applies for the county, you're gonna approve a shed, even though he hasn't gotten a permit from the county?
Correct.
That's up to you.
Well, I appreciate that, because the goal is always, I wanna fix things up, the goal is always been, I'm here in Florida, and I wanted to have something built. The
But-
shed is for storage, I can assure everybody, that is not, nobody is living.
But if you don't make progress on that county permit, now let me tell you what, you're gonna have to have a contractor,
Yeah.
house plans, site
As
plans.
a main heart.
All right. And if you're not making progress on the county, this permit could become invalid.
And that's not.
Then you still got an illegal shed and you'll be back here.
And I would have done everything I could to avoid this from happening in the beginning, So I really appreciate you, thank you.
Well, again-
I can assure you, Sean.
All right. Thank you very much.
God bless.
We shall conclude today's proceeding.
Thank you very much. And that's-
Lorenzo, was that a lot split?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that.
So suppose.
Here's something about it.
Are we done?
I've dealt with
Yeah,
this with
we're
the
done.
county before. It's a bear to get this housing permit approved.
But
You're